and speak about the world problem, about the plight of the Palestinian, or the danger of the Palestine for a long, long time. So this problem is unread until now. And we see peace punctuation by the Israeli violent and the act of force was maintained to occupy the entire area of the border with its mandate of Palestine. And we also
every day we tell each other that this day will be the last, and tomorrow we all can go home free, and all this will finally end. Palestine, tomorrow will be free.
Important international seminar about the important world, the core issue for the Muslim world. In this session, we have a Dr. Muslim Kerang from the University of Narathiwat as a co-chairman. And we have learned about the story of the Palestinians, because although the United Nations Security Council, UNHCR, adopted many resolutions and reaffirmed resolution, many such as 242, 1967, 338, 446, 452, until 1397 in 2002, 1515, 23, and 1815, 28, and the last, not the last, and 2334 in 2016, and in the Paris communique in such a way as to compel Israel in occupying power and to put an end to its illegal settlement regime, including in Jerusalem, and to cease sabotaging the two-state solution through illegal activity and policy. So it's very important. Palestinians have to fight for a long, long time. And I myself and our colleague have catch this issue for a long, long time. Let me refer Mr. Faison Seadunpan. He's here. We had arranged a demonstration in front of the Israeli embassy. Mr. Sarot Bang'o, speaker, and then Ustad Harun Hajima, who bring me to Lebanon to talk about Al-Quds, and bring me to Yemen to talk about Al-Quds and Jerusalem also. So now he is in work for the Palestinians until now. Okay, and I would like to Dr. Kareng to introduce our speaker. Yes, please.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, let's ask prayer and praise to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because of His bliss and mercy, we can come together without any obstacle here with healthy condition. We come here to talk about our brother and conflicts in the Palestinians in the International Conference on Palestine's past, present, and future. And the second, let's ask, greet and pray to our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who had brought us to the path of light and live the darkness in this life. And he teaches us also, like he said in Hadith, la yu'minu ahadukum hatta yuhibba akhihi ma yuhibbu li nafsihi. No one of you become to a true believer until he live or he life for his brother what he live or he life for himself. It is honor to me to inform you that among us here we have two overseas experts about the BDS. It's not only experts about the stories or the facts about the injustice in Palestine, but also they are involved the BDS activity many years, very effective. The panel, the first panel, his name is the Professor Muhammad Nazari Ismail, as chairman of BDS Malaysia, and he also a professor and former dean at the Faculty of Business and Accounting, University of Malaya. And next panel is who is Assistant Professor Nicholas Freiman, as a lecturer at the Humanity and Language Division, Mahidun University, and he also as the vice chairperson of Palestine Solidarity Campaign Thailand. Now we come into the main sessions. There are two panels, and we invite the Professor Muhammad Nazari Ismail.
Can we ask Nick to go first? Because
you first. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Sorry. I invite Assistant Professor Nicholas Freiman to share with us about the BDS.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much. The same panel here as Kunniti Hassan from the Thai Islamic Center. Kunniti and I have known each other since 2012, when PSC, Palestine Solidarity Campaign Thailand, and the Thai Islamic Center collected 3,500 signatures on a petition, and we all went along to the Thai Foreign Ministry to hand it in, requesting that the Thai government support the Palestinians. So we go back quite a way there. I also know a number of faces here today. Marut, I know we go back probably to 2010. Dr. Pekorn, who was here earlier, I met back in 2008. So we've had a very close contact with a lot of our Muslim brothers and sisters, almost from the word go of our organization. And in fact, I think I was in this room for our very first event ever as PSC. That was back in 2008 to commemorate the Nakba. I wasn't on the panel. We had Stuart Ward, Chrysak Chunavan. I think Imtiaz Mukbil was on here as well. So in 2014, BDS Thailand released its report on Thai-Israel relations. And here is a photocopy of that report, some 114 pages, done by my colleague at PSC. And by the way, even though I'm a lecturer, I am here not as an expert in Palestinian affairs or a legal expert. I'm here as an activist. That's what I see myself doing in my contribution to the Palestinians. And Guylain Poissonnier, who is an international lawyer, helped put together this report here, our BDS Thailand report of 2014. And it concluded that Thailand unfortunately, was complicit with Israel's occupation of the West Bank. And that sends a message. It says that Thailand supports Israel's ethnic cleansing of Palestine. Now, one of the reasons I'm here today is what we do at PSC is to not only be active on things like petitions. It's very difficult for internationals, as I am, to go out on the streets and protest. My visa can be revoked. It's also very difficult for my Thai colleagues, anyway, to go out and protest. So we are limited and constrained by the realities of being here in Thailand. But I do think that BDS gives us a legitimate way of making our voices heard. And I think we need to understand that Thailand is out of step with global public opinion. Yes, I know much of that is in the West, because there's a little bit more freedom to complain about that in the West. But I know when I talk to Muslims here in Thailand and elsewhere, they feel exactly the same way we do on that issue. Yeah, because this is an issue of natural justice. And I will remind my audience here as well that it also violates the good governance of Tosapit Ratchatam, the principles of good governance that Thai kings have evolved over centuries. So in my speech, I'm going to look at the origins of BDS, its goals, its successes, and its future. Now, BDS has its roots in the construction of the separation wall, that went up in the year 2000, during the beginning, rather, of the Second Intifada. The wall is over 700 kilometers long. It follows the Green Line in some places, but it veers off in many others and annexes at least 9% of the West Bank. This theft deprives 25,000 or more Palestinians of the right or the ability to feed themselves and their families. We must also note that it encompasses the whole of East Jerusalem. It cuts off East Jerusalem from its Palestinian hinterland in the West Bank. East Jerusalem is penciled in and has been for 70 years or more the future capital of a Palestinian state. This is making it almost impossible to happen. That's one of the reasons why it was built. But in 2004, at the request of the United Nations General Assembly, the International Court of Justice, the ICJ, gave an advisory opinion on the wall's construction. It declared it illegal. It's illegal under international law. And if you read the finding, it draws on particular, amongst many documents, the Geneva Convention, which does not allow construction in occupied zones, annexing of land, and the building and moving in your own people. But that wasn't it. The court also made it clear that Israel had to dismantle the wall, take it down, knock it down, remove it. And not only that, all other states had an obligation, a duty, to force Israel to do just that, take it down. And out of this advisory opinion from the ICJ was born the BDS movement. And in 2005, I think it was 179 Palestinian civil society organizations came together and called for a global campaign of boycott, disinvestment and sanctions, BDS. And the goals of BDS are several-fold. First of all, the removal of the separation wall, an end to the occupation, recognition of the right of return for refugees, and full equality for Arab-Israeli citizens of Israel. How's he going to achieve these goals? He's going to achieve it by targeting the following: institutions, companies, universities, sports clubs, sports teams, cultural events, and the like. Any organization that has a link with Israeli settlements or the occupation in the West Bank. I think it's important at this stage to make two points. BDS does not target individuals unless you are affiliated to an organization and you are representing that organization. So if you're an ordinary Israeli citizen going about your ordinary everyday business, there's not a problem. And also, we target companies, organizations. And again, any company that's not in any way connected with the West Bank has got nothing to worry about from BDS. Has BDS had any successes? It sounds a really good idea. Well, let me give you 3 examples in Europe, because Europe, the BDS campaign is a lot stronger than it is, for example, in the US. And first of all is Viola. Viola is a multinational company with 300,000 employees. It's in 48 countries. In 2012, Viola won a contract from the Israeli government to build a railway, a light railway from Jerusalem to the Israeli settlements. That made it a target for BDS. Did it work? Viola has pulled out of all its projects in Israel. Not just on the West Bank, but all projects in Israel. The second is another French multinational company, and I don't think that's by accident. I think the French, and also, as I'm going to mention later, the Irish, have been very strong supporters of the Palestinians. Yeah, so this other company, Orange, a telecommunications giant with 150,000 employees worldwide and annual revenues of $40 billion. Why was it targeted? Well, in the Operation Protective Edge in 2014, it was providing free phone calls for all the IDF soldiers who were involved in the attack. And as a consequence of the BDS campaign against it, Viola has pulled out of all its projects in Israel. Third, Cement Roadstone Holdings. Sounds a very boring name, but this is a construction company. Cement. You need cement to build apartment blocks. You need cement to build observation points and checkpoints. You need the roadstone to make the roads that support the occupation infrastructure. This is an Irish company. It's got 100,000 employees worldwide and an annual turnover of $30 billion. It was targeted because it was building that infrastructure. And in 2016, it sold off its Israeli subsidiary. So it has no direct connections with Israel. And if you sum up the total annual turnover of those 3 companies, it's in excess of $100 billion, which I think is about 20% of the Thai GDP. So that's a significant amount. That's not the money they were spending in Israel, but this is the size of the companies and what they represent. So if you ask the question, is BDS working? Is it having an economic impact? Don't take it from us. The World Bank and the UN have acknowledged that BDS is having an important impact on the Thai economy. It is why Israel regards BDS as an existential threat. It is why Israel is active in campaigning against us. It is why in some countries, the friends of Israel, the US, to a lesser extent the UK, they're looking to ban BDS. In fact, BDS, as you heard earlier, has already been banned, I think, in 6 states in the US. So it's illegal. But how can a non-violent, peaceful protest be classified as illegal? Well, you ask the pro-Israeli supporters, and they will tell you that it's anti-Semitic. They say that Israel is the world's only Jewish state, thus to apply to the state of the Jews a standard that is not applied to other states is a gross act of discrimination. Double standards, they would call it. But what is this standard? The standard is international law. How can that be a double standard? Is international law only applied against Israel? No. Let's take the ICJ, the International Criminal Court of Justice. In the same year, 2004, that they found Israel wanting the construction of the wall, it also issued 10 other findings. And since 2004, it's passed findings on 34 other cases, 5 this year alone. And let's take the ICC, the International Criminal Court in The Hague, and they're presently doing it with 26 cases. So international law is not just being applied to Israel, it's being applied to anyone who abuses international law. What these critics of BDS want for Israel is not to be held to account. And as Imtiaz Maqbil was talking about this morning, no one is above the law, not even Israel. So when it comes to BDS, the law is on our side and must not be intimidated into doing no action because of these threats. It's not just about business. An important area is about culture. There is a culture war going on. That's one of the new battlefields. Why? The Israeli government sees culture as a propaganda tool to whitewash its criminal record. When international artists perform in Israel, they create the impression that Israel is a normal country. It's not. It's been a multiple and systematic violator of international law since its creation in 1948. Now, the Palestinian lobby asked these artists to start rewarding Israel for its crimes. So they're not boycotting them. What they're doing is applying a moral standard. And they're saying, if you're going to perform in Tel Aviv, why not go and offer a free concert in Ramallah in the West Bank? That's not going to happen. The Israelis are never going to allow any musician to go over and also perform in the West Bank. So that's the moral pressure that we can put on our artists. And it's the same with writers as well. So the focus of the cultural boycott is a moral one. Has it been successful? Well, long-standing supporters of BDS include the filmmakers Ken Loach, Jean-Luc Godard, the very famous French film director, Roger Waters from Pink Floyd, Elvis Costello, Snoop Dogg. And this year we've had the singers Lorde, Lana Del Rey cancel their concerts, and also the actress Natalie Portman, a Jewish American, refused to go over and collect a prize that she had won. Two big issues for you to look forward to coming up in the future are Ed Sheeran has a concert in Tel Aviv next year, in July. So if you have an opportunity to sign a petition lobbying him, Ed Sheeran is a top musician in the West. The other one is the Eurovision Song Contest. And that's going to be held in Israel in 2019, and that's already being lobbied to move that from Israel. So I would argue the cultural boycott of Israel is working, and it's not illegal. It's also happening in the field of science, much less spectacularly. I will point out that we have, what's his name? That is, yes, the 2018 Nobel Prize winner for chemistry this year is Professor George Smith. He's also a lobbyist against Israel, a supporter of BDS, as of course was Stephen Hawking. He was a very prominent supporter of the Palestinians through BDS as well. What about solutions? Well, last year I was in Tehran at the invitation of the Iranian Parliament. So I was fortunate enough to hear the Ayatollah Khamenei speak, and he pointed out to the audience, who were deputy speakers of parliaments from over 100 countries, very few from the West, and he talked about the centrality of the Palestinian resistance to both the Islamic Ummah and the world at large. He also said that it's vital that differences are put aside to support the Palestinians. These are religious differences, must be put aside if we're going to stand any chance of, in our struggle against Zionism and global imperialism. Another important speaker was the Iranian President, Hussein Rouhani, who stated that peace in the Middle East can only be achieved when Palestine is freed from occupation. And I know it was mentioned this morning that the Palestinian issue has tended to drift away given the other big events that are going on. But Palestine is central to what is going on. So, one last comment, and that was from Oman. I was very surprised to hear Oman, which is a Sunni state, playing a very important role as a mediator, particularly with Shia Iran, and cooperating between Iran and the other Sunni Gulf states, okay, looking at building a pan-Islamic front to help the Palestinians. And I think we really do need our Palestinian brothers and sisters to help lead the way with that pan-Islamic front. So it's going to make it so much easier for those of us in the rest of the world who are not Islamic to really pile in behind you on that. So I do beseech all of you here to do what you can to build bridges there across Shia and Sunni Islam. Yeah, that's what the Palestinians are asking, not me. The Palestinians are asking you to do that, because if we don't do that, it's going to be that much more difficult. Thank you very much.
Thanks to Assistant Professor Nicholas Freeman for information and knowledge which have been given to us. May it be useful for us, inshallah. Now we move to the next panel. I invite Assistant Professor Muhammad Nazari Ismail to share with us about the BDS movement also. Please.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Co-chairman, my fellow panelists Nick, and ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for having me here. I will not use my PowerPoint presentation because of lack of time. First point I want to make is that the BDS Malaysia is work together with the BDS National Committee, which is the coordinating body for the whole global BDS movement, which was set up a few years after the date of 2005 mentioned by Nick just now. However, the BDS National Committee also gives leeway to national BDS organizations to operate as they see fit. And therefore, BDS Malaysia actually works a bit different from from BDS National Committee in other countries, especially, for example, with BDS Thailand. One of the reasons is because in the case of Malaysia, we do not have any diplomatic relations with Israel. The country does not have any diplomatic relations. So therefore, the background is different, and therefore, we can set the hurdle or the fence higher. BDS Thailand, for example, boycott companies or universities that operate in the West Bank. In our case, is we boycott any university from Israel. And we also boycott any organization, any business organization from Israel. We do not allow any import of goods produced by Israeli companies. So that is our standard. And we consulted the BDS National Committee, and they agree with our standard. In fact, they expect us to put our standard at a higher level than the BDS of other countries. And that's what we are doing at the moment. However, having said that, I want to also share with you that BDS efforts or boycott efforts are not necessarily that easy, even in Malaysia, which do not have any diplomatic relation with Israel. For example, one of the companies that we target, which is in line with the BDS National Committee's target also, which is in the list as well, at top of the list, is a company called Caterpillar. Why Caterpillar is targeted? As you know, we heard this morning how people mentioned about Rachel Corrie, who was killed when defending the demolishment of Palestinian homes. She was killed by a machine produced by Caterpillar. The Israeli military used Caterpillar machines. And the Caterpillar machines are also used by the Israeli military, the so-called D9 bulldozers, which is a military machine which are used by the Israeli military in their war efforts. Can we play the video on Caterpillar, please? Short only, because it's a long video. I would just want to show you. I want to test their sophisticatedness. Not.
It's a one-sided battle of man versus machine. This is Nablus on the West Bank, a scene that's become all too familiar in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Palestinian news confronted one of the Israeli army's hated bulldozers. Israeli soldiers called it Dubi or teddy bear, but there's nothing cuddly about these specially modified bulldozers. At 64 tons, it's a machine of awesome, destructive power, the iron fist of the Israeli army. They're used not only to destroy Palestinian houses, which Israel claims is justified for security reasons. They're also used in the construction of settlements and bypass roads, as well as Israel's controversial security barrier. At the same time, they have been used to uproot thousands of Palestinian olive and fruit trees. The company supplying the bulldozers is Caterpillar, one of the world's most profitable. In the first half of this year, recording sales of $17.6 billion. For Palestinians, it's a name
by a Malaysian company owned by the Malaysian government. And they are actually the distributor of Caterpillar machines in the region, including Australia. So, BDS Malaysia has got the responsibility to do something about it. And I've been, or the BDS Malaysia have been spending efforts for more than 2 years now, trying to ask the company to stop distributing Caterpillar machines, but up until now, it's still being distributed. I've even spoken to the chairman of the company, who agreed with the fact that Caterpillar is involved, but who until now refused. I've written to the Malaysian government, spoken to parliamentarians, and still nothing as much has been going on. Hopefully, after this, all of you can speak to the future Prime Minister of Malaysia and tell him that Malaysian government must stop the Malaysian government-owned company from distributing Caterpillar machines. But the fact that I am telling you, it's not that easy. So we will discuss later on why it's not that easy. The second company that we are targeting is Hewlett-Packard. No need to play the video. Why? Hewlett-Packard is also in the top of the list of BDS National Committee, because Hewlett-Packard supplies the IT infrastructure for the Israeli military, as well as all the other aspects of the occupation, including the checkpoints, all the biometric whatever things, to help the Israeli military to monitor the Palestinians. These are all supplied by Hewlett-Packard, including the Navy, which went to the seas and shot Palestinians, fishermen, and prevent them from going, and also for the Israeli Air Force to bomb Palestinians' homes and kill thousands of Palestinians, also supplied by Hewlett-Packard. But Hewlett-Packard has got a big factory in Malaysia, okay, and our call, and also supplies computers to the government of Malaysia. And we have also informed the government and written to them, want to have meeting with them, but until today, it's not that effective. However, it's not that bad. We have managed to get pledges from more than 70 organizations in Malaysia now, including government organizations, that promise not to buy any more Hewlett-Packard machines or computers. But for a country that does not have any relationship with Israel, we should expect millions of companies that are in the list, right? But as I'm telling you now, not that easy. Because of commercial consideration, actually. The third company, which is targeted by BS Malaysia, is G4S, a security company, also on recommendation of the BDS National Committee. Can you please play the video on G4S?
G4S is a British-Danish private security company that profits from the imprisonment of Palestinian political prisoners and systems of Israeli occupation and apartheid. They maintain security equipment at checkpoints, supply security systems and settlements, and post private security personnel at checkpoints and construction sites for settlements and the separation wall. G4S operates in more than 120 countries with over 620,000 employees. The company signed a contract with the Israeli Prison Authority in 2007, agreeing to provide services in 5 Israeli prisons and detention centers that illegally hold large numbers of Palestinian political prisoners and detainees. As of February 2014, there are over 5,000 Palestinian political prisoners, including 183 children, 175 administrative detainees, and 17 women. These prisons have a well-documented history of severe torture and ill treatment of Palestinian political prisoners.
In the prison, prisoners are the oldest prisoner, political prisoner in the world at the moment. G4S is responsible or complicit in that. Unfortunately, G4S is operating in Malaysia, and we have been trying to kick them out of the country, but to no avail up to now. In fact, it's being used by all the banks in Malaysia as their security company, including the so-called Islamic banks. So that shows that it's not that easy again for us to. We are working very hard to. We spoke to the daughter of the future Prime Minister of Malaysia to explain to her about this issue and ask her help in this regard as well. And all of you will now speak to the future Prime Minister of Malaysia when he comes afterward. The next company that we are targeting is Hyundai Heavy Industries. Please, can you please play the video?
وين نروح؟ وين نروح؟ من هذول يهدون مطارنا؟
سجون الليل.
etc., he was not too keen, even though his signature we recorded. Why? Because of commercial consideration, investment, etc., etc. That's why I'm saying it's not so easy because of money. So we are going to go and fight further for the cause of justice in Palestine using the BDS platform, which is very, very effective, as Nick explained just now. But don't expect it to be easy. You have to work really hard. And when a society places commercial consideration above the consideration of justice, then we are in trouble. That's why we must train our society to think about justice first and money second. But in many countries, unfortunately, among many people, money comes first and justice comes second. And that's the problem with our fight at the moment. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Thanks to Professor Muhammad Nazri Ismail for giving us experience about the BDS moment in Malaysia especially. Now we move to the question and answer session. Yes.
Thank you very much for the excellent presentations on BDS. I like particularly your last comment about when politicians put greed and commercial interest above justice. President Trump has certainly done that just now with the murder of the journalist Khashoggi, when he says that the commercial interests of the United States for the Saudi purchase of military equipment is more important than justice for the murdered journalist. But my question is for you all, could you please explain what the ramifications of working on BDS are in terms of trying to get into the West Bank after you've done this, since you generally have to go through an Israeli border element to do that? Thank you.
I'm not sure I understand the question, because if we're in BDS, so activities in the West Bank. Well,
internationals that have participated in BDS activities are being denied entry into Israel. Could you kind of expand on that?
Well, all I can say is that if you fly into Tel Aviv and you're on their register, so I'm sure Professor Mohammed and myself are on that register because I've been campaigning for 10 years or more. So I'm not even going to bother trying to apply for a visa, whatever Imtiaz McBill asks me to do, because I know that I won't be allowed in. And the only other way in that I understand it that is legitimate at the moment is the Allenby Bridge coming in from the Jordan, and that isn't possible either. There is one other alternative, and that's at the crossing, is it the Rafah crossing between Israel and Egypt? That's basically closed. Yeah, you were mentioning how even with your going on the boat, how different, you got 24 hours. Did you come over the Rafah crossing?
I've now been deported from Israel twice, so I can't get in through the Allenby Bridge or the Tel Aviv airport. And you can't, in order to get from Gaza into the West Bank, you would have to go through an Israeli checkpoint. You came from the Egyptian checkpoint or Egyptian border into Gaza. You still would have to come out of Gaza through an Israeli checkpoint. So one way or the other, they're going to get you.
Yes, you can't get from Gaza to the West Bank, I don't think, unless you leave completely. And so, yeah, and it's worth noting that Rachel Corrie, I think, was killed at Rafah, yeah, where they were demolishing, I think it was thousands of homes. Yeah.
Okay, can I add a bit more? I think in the case of Anne, maybe it's IT, but maybe Nick can try if he wants to, because don't think that Israeli IT or whatever system of monitoring people is that great, because there were some BDS activists who managed to get through. They are not that accurate sometimes. But in our case, it's not a big deal because we campaign for Malaysians not to go to Israel, and even to the West Bank, unless you have a purpose of trying to help the Palestinian cause. If you are going there to visit for the sake of visiting, then we say no, because we boycott the whole country. It's an illegal country and it's committing all kinds of atrocities and should be boycotted. So we are not interested in going there, unless you, for example, are a journalist or you have other objectives for the Palestinian cause, then it's okay. So it's not a big deal for us not being allowed to go to the West Bank. Thank you.
We do have 30,000 Thais working on the kibbutzes in Israel. Yep, yep. And we believe some of those, and that's been documented here as well. How we're being pressured to bear on the Thai government is an incredibly sensitive issue. There's money involved, yeah, large sums of money. Yeah, we do know that the Thai workers very often end up in very poor working conditions. I think there has been some improvement because a number of Thai NGOs have been dealing with this issue about workers' rights. Yeah, but there's no sense of doing what the Malaysian government done, is to ban Thais going to work there. I think all we can ask for is that the Thai workers are treated with respect, which often they're not.
Okay, one more question. Could be the last question for this session.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm afraid the audience that
sorry, the microphone.
Oh, okay. Successes. Oh, successes. All right. Okay, all right. Yeah, okay.
I believe there is some successful points.
Oh, okay.
PDS Malaysia.
Right.
Please inform us if you have any successful points, because I know this, okay, but you didn't mention. I want to remind you.
Okay. Yeah, we managed to block import of Israeli jeans to Malaysia. We informed one of the biggest departmental store called Giant, which is all over Malaysia. We found out that they imported pants or jeans which were actually produced by Israeli company but manufactured in China. But the company is Israeli. So I wrote a letter to the company and informed them, if you better withdraw. And actually, she protested in the beginning. And I said, if you do not do that, I will inform all the Malaysians about what you are doing. And then quickly the whole thing was withdrawn from all the outlets in Malaysia. We also managed to stop universities from inviting academicians from Israel, from participating in conferences organized in the country. So these are some of the successes that we have been able to achieve. Thank you very much.
We've had one small success this year. We had an Israeli academic come from Ariel University. Ariel University is in the West Bank. So for us, that was a legitimate target, and she was coming over to be a keynote speaker at a conference here in Bangkok in June. It was a conference organized by an American academic organization. It was to universities related. It was to do with women and gender studies. And we contacted Palestinian BDS and asked them, is this going to be okay for us? And said, yeah, go ahead. So we contacted the university and we contacted the host organizing organization and put pressure to bear, and the keynote speaker's invitation was withdrawn. So she didn't come, and you'll see that on the BDS list of successes for 2018. So, and I would recommend that's probably one of the easiest ones that we can do without too much damage for ourselves, is you hear of any Israeli academic, just check where they're coming from. If you're not sure, you can get through to me and we can contact Palestinian BDS. And I think it's one of the easiest ways and most effective ways, to do this. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much indeed. Yeah, but I would like to say more about the PCS in Thailand. Mr. Stuart Wood, he's the one is from England. This is our friend from England, and co with Mr. Faison Mekloy. This is a PCS Thailand before, and he worked hard for Ranjan. And I would like to thank Madam Ann Wright. This is our friend from America. So, and let me request not only free Gaza, should be Palestine, Gaza, or Jerusalem also, and Gaza. Okay, our brother from here, so we hope that you will be our representative in America. And good news, somebody know that last election in America, we have a Muslim in a member of parliament in two. One from the refugee from Palestinian. Yes, yeah. And another is Somalia. So we hope that this person will be speak out in America. So we would like to thank the PCS, because every year he arranged about the Palestinian conference in the United Nations in Bangkok. But this year maybe no. Okay, because เพราะว่าเราจัดที่นี่แล้วนะครับ ครับอันนี้ก็เป็นเรื่องที่ครับแล้วก็ในโอกาสนี้ก็คิดว่าเราคงจะต้องร่วมมือกับ PCS DBS นะครับแล้วก็หวังว่าจะขยายไปสู่อาเซียนวันนี้เรามีผู้แทนของอินโดนีเซียมา3คนนายกมือหน่อยเลยครับเป็นนักศึกษาจากอินโดนีเซียนะครับก็เป็นคนที่ทำงานที่เข้มแข็งครับในนามของคณะ organizer นะครับ I would like to thank the speaker, yes, Ferdinand and Muhammad Nazari, and our co-chairman, Dr. Muslim Karim. Thank you very much indeed. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.
Please give them a very big round of applause. Thank you very much, everyone on stage. Having sit through this session, I think I've learned to understand that BDS has really hit Israel right at where it hurt most, right at the heart of their economy. So I think we should continue to be supportive and to do what we can to support BDS campaign wherever we are. And next, I would like to invite
ขอเรียนเชิญครับท่านดร.วิสุทธิ์บิลเตะประธานสภาเครือข่ายช่วยเหลือด้านมนุษยธรรมสำนักจุฬาราชมนตรีได้กรุณามอบของที่ระลึกกับวิทยากรทุกท่านครับบริเวณด้านล่างนะครับ
would like to invite our panelists on stage and our co-chairman and chairman to come down to receive the souvenir from our Dr. Wisud bin Latte.
ครับขอเชิญอาจารย์นิติฮัสซันครับท่านแรกครับในฐานะผู้ดำเนินการอภิปรายบทบาทของกลุ่มเคลื่อนไหวทั่วโลกเพื่อการรณรงค์การคว่ำบาตรบอยคอตการลงทุนและการลงโทษนะครับท่านแรกครับอาจารย์นิติฮัสซันจากมูลนิธิเพื่อศูนย์กลางอิสลามแห่งประเทศไทยท่านต่อไปครับขอเรียนเชิญดร.มุสลิมคาเรงครับจากมหาวิทยาลัยนราธิวาสราชนครินทร์ครับท่านต่อไปครับ welcome Professor Muhammad Nasri Ismail Assistant Professor Nicholas Ferryman from PSC Muhammad.
Professor Muhammad, please join them in having a photo together. All right, ladies and gentlemen, next on our list is an equally interesting session, which is coming up right after this. It will be on the topic of the future of Palestine. Like the name of this event is Palestine, Past, Present and Future. I think we have already covered the past, we have covered the present, and now we want to know what's going to happen next in future, near and far. So I think it's going to be a very interesting session.
ครับลำดับจากนี้ไปจะเป็นการอภิปรายในเรื่องอนาคตของปาเลสไตน์ขอเรียนเชิญท่านผู้ดำเนินรายการนะครับดร.เชคมูฮัมหมัดอัลตาฟุรเราะห์มานนะครับเป็นอาจารย์จากวิทยาลัยโลกคดีศึกษามหาวิทยาลัยธรรมศาสตร์นะครับและผู้ดำเนินรายการร่วมดร.ชัยวัฒน์มีสันฐานจากนะครับท่านเดียวนะครับต่อไปครับท่านดร.ชารีฟอามีนอาบูชามาลานะครับจากประธานมูลนิธิอัลกุดส์และที่ประเทศสหพันธรัฐมาเลเซียผู้ช่วยศาสตราจารย์ดร.ฮาฟิซีมูฮัมหมัดจากสหพันธรัฐมาเลเซียและดร.เฮรูซูเซตโยนะครับจากมหาวิทยาลัยอินโดนีเซียและนายมูฮัมหมัดอัชมีอับดุลฮามิดจากสหพันธรัฐมาเลเซียครับ
Next, I would like to invite on stage the chairman and co-chairman, the chairman of this session, Dr. Sheikh Muhammad Antafur Rahman, on stage. And our panelists, which there are 4 panelists altogether for this session, so it's going to be very interesting. They are Dr. Sharif Amin Abu Shamala, Chairman of Al-Quds Foundation, Malaysia. The second, Associate Professor Dr. Hafizi Muhammad Noor, Chairman of My Care, Malaysia. Third, Dr. Heru Susetjo, Lecturer, University of Indonesia, Indonesia. And last but not least, Mr. Muhammad Azmi Abdul Hamid, President of Malaysian Consultative Council of Islamic Organization of MAPIM, Malaysia. Please. The
ครับในช่วงนี้รอสักครู่นะครับเพราะว่ามีการปรับผังและสถานที่ก็มีการเข้าใจเคลื่อนนะครับว่าจัดห้องนั้นหรือห้องนี้หรือเปล่านะครับแล้วขอต้อนรับท่านรองศาสตราจารย์ดร.วินัยด้าลันผู้อำนวยการศูนย์วิทยาศาสตร์ฮาลาลจุฬาลงกรณ์มหาวิทยาลัยครับที่ให้เกียรติมาร่วมภารกิจและกิจกรรมในวันนี้ของทางคณะกรรมการจัดการสัมมนาครับ
All right, the panelists are on stage now, as well as our chairman. So, Dr. Sheikh Mohammed, I would like to pass this on to you.
No chairman for this session?
The chairman is not here? Not yet. Oh, sorry.
So start?
No, not just a second. Just a few moments. Alhamdulillah. Dr. Sheikh Mohammed Al-Tafur Rahman, please come on stage. Chairman? Ali?
Just ต้องขออภัยในห้องประชุมนะครับเนื่องจากว่าเรามีการย้ายห้องนะครับย้ายห้องมาทำให้
some misunderstanding about where we are, so just a second. Well, let me tell you just about all the souvenirs that we have up for this event. We have the scarf that is specially made for this event. That is on sale outside. So if you want to have some souvenir for this event, you can have it just outside the room. Our chairman has arrived. Thank you. All right, now we have all the panelists on stage. Mr. Chairman, Dr. Sheikh Mohammed Al-Tafur Rahman, I would like to pass this session on to you. Okay. You can begin, huh?
Can we begin? Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Peace be upon all of you. Sorry for the inconvenient delay in Bangkok traffic. As usual, we had another conference going on in NIDA, and that's about the SDG and international law. So that was the event from the morning. So it took some time to come over. Nevertheless, we are glad that we have made this grand program. I think it's fine. Okay. And it is very worthy to have this program here in Chulalongkorn University, which itself is a very prime international educational institute, academic institute. By hosting this program, it is essentially recognizing the importance of the event that's being there for such a long time in the Middle East. We and many other academicians call it as a trouble land, if we can spell it correctly. By stating as a trouble land, which relate to the phenomenon of global crisis, meaning that the crisis which is the mother of other crises, and it linked with so many different phenomena that's happening across the world. We can see the link clearly rooted in the historical conflict in the land of Palestine. If you may pardon me, I can say it's Philistine rather than Palestine. Yeah. We make it new name because we are influenced by so many new things. Yeah. So the Palestine issue has been there for such a long time as the issue of injustice, as the issue of human rights concern, as the issue of global morality. Now, it is not an issue of any religious group. It is not an issue of a single civilization. It is neither an issue of any specific group of people that we can attach with. So, with a simple introduction, we can say Philistine issue is an issue that attach with different groups in the world who can find their root either for faith or for civilization or for historical economic relationship. So in that regard, we can see there are historical loopholes, historical injustice, but we don't want to stuck with those historical injustice. We want to move on. We want to find a peaceful solution where the world can live together and where everyone can grow and flourish together. So with this endeavor, I am sure our panel today is going to discuss things in light with the future of Palestine and Israeli situation. We are honored that we have a very august panelist with us. I will go one by one, but let me start with Dr. Sharif. Dr. Sharif Amin Abu Sammala, Chairman of Al-Quds Foundation, Malaysia. So kindly address our August gathering. Thank you.
Inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيد الخلق أجمعين محمد ابن عبد الله الصادق الأمين أما بعد رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. First of all, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, my brothers and sisters. I'm very glad to be among my brothers and sisters to discuss the future of Palestine, because we as Palestinians always suffer that the super colonial powers neglect us from forming our future. And let's take this opportunity to speak about our future. When I was preparing my paper, I realized that since 101 years, at least, the outside powers formed the future of Palestine. If we started from 1917, when Balfour made his declaration and gave the promise for the Jews to give them not Britain land, he gave them the promise to give them ours. Then the Britain went to the Nation League to take over Palestine again. They occupied Palestine in 1918, but they legalized this action or this occupation by reforming our future under mandate, British mandate. Then in 1937, a Britain commission came to Palestine to form our future, and they stated Palestinian and Jews and the European immigrant Jews cannot live together in this country. Let's divide this country to 3 portions. This project failed, alhamdulillah ta'ala, but unfortunately in 1947 the superpower, the United Nations, also imposed a new plan of a future for Palestine to divide Palestine to 3 pieces of land, not 3, 4 pieces, 2 pieces for Palestinian, and it was unfortunately 43% of Palestine, and they gave the Jews 1 piece, but bigger. It was 56%, and they wanted their portion as 1 or 2%, which is Jerusalem, Baitul Maqdis, and they said this area we will keep as international community, under the international community. The suffering continue. In 1948, the Zionist gangs, the European immigrants who were in Palestine, they occupied the whole. They occupied at least 78 of Palestine. And the last, and I hope it would be the last, we realized that Trump's declaration, or the new Balfour Declaration by Trump's, which is promoted by the name, the deal of the century. So inshallah ta'ala, my contribution in this coming minutes will be about the deal of the century, or Trump's peace process, or Trump's peace offer. So, to be in the whole image, the US administration introduced the peace plan with an exciting marketing connotation, maybe to fit Trump's real estate broker mentality. What have been leaked of this deal, officially not published yet, are more a bundle of Israeli ideas prepared by the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, but presented in an American attire. So we are facing an American attire, but the core is an Israeli. Although we have no official text to refer to, following the leaks that were published by the Americans, Arabs, and Israeli officials, or some officials and institutions close to the decision makers, we can come up with the deal highlights. So let's see what is the deal of the century. 1, a Palestinian self-rule under the Israeli sovereignty in the West Bank and the Gaza Strip. In form, it can be called a state. 2nd, the final status issues are pulled out of the peace plan and solved to be the benefit of the Israeli standards. And they are as what I will mention. A, Jerusalem, Al-Quds, Baitul Maqdis, including the Old City and Masjid al-Aqsa al-Mubarak, will remain under the Israeli sovereignty and creates for Palestinian in New Jerusalem in one of the villages called Abu Dis. In addition to Israeli withdrawals from some areas and neighborhoods of Jerusalem, Baitul Maqdis. So, Jerusalem no longer will be the capital of Palestine, and they will create a New Jerusalem in one of the villages near Jerusalem. 2, no for return of Palestinian refugees, whose issue would be solved through giving them citizenship or any kind of comprehension. So we are, as refugees, around 6 million outside Palestine, and I am one of them. We should neglect or should forget our right to return to the benefit of the Israeli regime. C, Israeli settlements, around 180 settlements in the West Bank, would remain. And settlements outposts, which is around 100, would be legalized. I think the total is around 290 settlements will still in the Palestinian so-called state. D, no actual sovereignty for the suggested Palestinian state, or we can call it self-rule, on the ground, and no control over the borders, airspace, and waters. E, no withdrawal to the pre-June 1967 borders. As you know, Palestine was occupied twice. The first time in 1948, and the Israeli and the Zionist army occupied 78%. And the first time, and in 1948, the Palestinian and the Arabs kept two pieces of the land of Palestine. One is the Gaza Strip, the second is the West Bank. So, and the pro-peace process of Palestinian accepted to call a state in Palestine, in 22% of Palestine who supported two-state solution. They accepted to have a state on the West Bank and the Gaza Strip without any geographical connection. But this will be a dream. This will be something we should forget in the new American peace plan. No withdrawal to the pre-June 1967 borders and Israeli sovereignty over the settlements and the lands behind the separation wall, which is 12% of West Bank, will remain. There are also suggestions that sovereignty will remain over the whole sea area because the Jews, the Israeli settlements and the Israeli colonial regime, when they signed the Oslo Agreement and they namely left the West Bank, they kept some areas called areas C, sea areas. These areas until the sovereignty of the Israeli police and even the PA president, the Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas, cannot go to this area until he takes the permission from the Israeli soldier. 60% of the West Bank's total area pending. If no Palestinian army would be formed, so this state with toothless, only a police force that maintains internal security. So they want to reform the Palestinian to be chief police for the Israeli. Third, this is for the final state issues. Third, the whole world would recognize Israel as a nation state for all the Jewish people, and the Palestinian entity, as a national state for the Palestinian people. Fourth, concentrating on the economic peace. 5, normalization before the peace settlement. America wants to force the Arab countries to go in the normalization to accept Israel as a country in the region, not as an occupation entity. 6, deviating the conflict by creating a coalition between the Sunni countries in the region and Israel against the Iran. And this is something strange. So, let's jump to the scenarios. The question, what are the possible scenarios? After we studied this plan, we realized 3 scenarios. The first scenario, the deal's failure. And this based on the fact that the deal, as laid out, is an Israeli project in its core, and that it does not offer the acceptable minimum for any Palestinian party, even the Palestinian Authority and Mahmoud Abbas, including parties supporting the peace process. And since there is no Palestinian party authorized to agree and talk on behalf of the whole Palestinians, there will be no peace settlement or deal. The second scenario, they will success to pass the deal by rehabilitating the Arab and the Palestinian attitude to accept it, like to give them some lands here, some lands here. Okay, you want some weapons, we will provide, we will allow you to have these weapons, and then the Palestinian Authority will say, okay, I achieved and I prevented Israel to take whole the cake, and I take this small piece. Let's agree on the Trump's plan for peace. And maybe the third scenario, the deal's success according to the current situation of the weakness of the Arab and Muslim countries. But due to the limited time, we believe as Palestinian and as a Palestinian involved in the struggle against this occupation, we believe the first scenario will happen, inshallah ta'ala. The deal will not pass, and the failure will be the end of this deal, because the Palestinians have the right to steadfast in their lands and had the right to steadfast in their rights of return, rights of freedom, as all nations that get the freedom previously. And it is good, I am between Indonesians. They are celebrated 72 years of independence, and between Malaysians, they also, a few months ago, they celebrated their independence, and this gives us the hope that we can enjoy the independence one day. Jazakumullah khair, and thank you very much. But I want to give me 1 minute more to share you a small story happened in Gaza. Before Trump announced the recognition of Baitul Maqdis as the whole capital of the Israel, there were a reporter, TV reporter or TV presenter, makes interviews in the street with kids. So he stopped one of kids and he asked him, do you accept Jerusalem, Baitul Maqdis, to be the capital of Israel? The child said, I don't recognize Israel itself to recognize the Jerusalem as the capital of this entity. Thank you very much. Jazakumullah khair. Barakallah feekum.
Dr. Sharif, thanks for your presentation. We will come up with a summary at the end, but without any further ado, may I request Associate Professor Dr. Hafizi Muhammad Noor, Chairman of MyCare, Malaysia.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Salatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man da'a bid'awati ila yaumiddin. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good late afternoon. Jazakallah khairan. Thank you very much to Dr. Altaf Rahman and our fellow panelists. I'm very honored to be in this wonderful session. It is great since it is being held in Thailand, which I have to say this. Thailand is a strong ally of Israel, right? That's the impression that I
want to go back to Malaysia, please.
It's, it is an honorable effort to hold such an important program, especially on regards to the Palestinian struggle. This shows that the struggle of the Palestinian indeed has a future. Yeah. This is a clear indication that there is a very bright future ahead of us when we talk about the Palestinian struggle. Yeah. Can I have the slide, please, on the future of Palestine? And just to add on to what has been experienced and talked about on the issue of BDS. BDS is real. I have to say this. It is real because I personally experienced this. I am an academic, but not in the area of Palestine issue. I am in the area of agriculture, and I'm working on biological control of rats, whatever that means to all of you. Yeah? It's pest control, actually. Yeah? Using natural enemies. And this is one of the strengths of Israeli academics. Yeah? Unfortunately or fortunately, we are working in the same field. And I have received at least 2 personal invitations from Israeli academic to be in a conference as keynote speaker on the issue of controlling of rats. You know rats? Using owl. It is their specialty, and it's working very successfully in many plantation areas, including Malaysia. And just last year, I got this invitation from a university in the US, a university in California. I could not recall which one, but I was asked to present a keynote. To present a paper. Everything paid for. Yeah? Everything paid for. And 4 objectives were lined out. The fourth one explicitly mentioned this program is to strengthen the academic ties between US institution and Israel. They mentioned it explicitly, which gave me no choice but to turn down. And when I look at the profile of the leading academic in this program, he used to be play an active military part in Israel, and was given a special award for his service. So I just want to say that I have close encounters, and like Professor Nazari said, commercial gains can override things. So if they have given me gold and prestigious award, I have to turn it down. And okay, can I have the slide, please? Yeah, only 2 slides. The next one. That's the only 2 slides. Okay. Now, this is a crash course on the history of Palestine. I'm not sure whether you can identify what are the main events that happened in those years, but we want to focus on the blue ones. Yeah, the one with the broken lines. Actually, there's no dates on them. But if you look at the very bottom of the graph, that was in 1987. Yeah. What happened in 1987? The Intifada. Yeah. But if you look from 1917 all the way down to 1987, it was, in my opinion, this is based on my opinion, it has been a downward trend. What is the reason? If I can ask all of you, why are we experiencing this downward trend? It's not that the Palestinians have not been putting up with the struggle. They have been putting up with the struggle every year since 1917. They have put up resistance in every form. Yeah? And yet, they did not make much progress. I think, if I can offer this answer, it's because they have been isolated. They work by themselves. They work within the Arab frame. Yeah? In fact, they started with an Arab issue, and then it narrows down to a Palestinian issue, and it narrows down again to one person, that is the late Yasser Arafat. Yeah? And when Intifada unfolded in 1987, we are seeing light at the end of the tunnel. Yeah? And it is very clear, in fact, from 2005. What happened in 2005? It was the formation of BDS. Yeah? When the world took notice, not only took notice, but they took concrete action on how to support the Palestinian people. Yeah? And we know what happened in 2005. In 2005, Israel withdrew from Gaza. Yeah? Is it, brother?
Yes.
2005,
yes.
Right? Yeah? 2005. And then they facilitated the first legislative election in 2006. Yeah? And to the surprise of everyone, including that of Hamas, yeah? Hamas won the election, hands down, and won almost 2/3 of the seats. Then they, the quartet, the so-called quartet, I'm not sure whether you still remember, there was an entity who called themselves the quartet. The United States, US, the Soviet, yeah? No, Russia, yeah? There was no more Soviet there. The United States, Russia, EU, and the United Nations. Even the United Nations is complicit. They came together and they imposed this economic blockade and siege on Gaza. And it started in 2007 after they have given an ultimatum. What was that ultimatum? Is for Hamas to recognize Israel. And did not happen. One of the three other ultimatums. And from 2007 until today, which is more than a decade now, Gaza is under blockade. Gaza is under debilitating siege. Yeah? And that actually initiated very strong international advocacies, not just on the diplomatic front, but also these brave efforts of actually trying to uplift the siege. Yeah? Started with Lifeline for Gaza, Mavi Marmara in 2010, and then the Miles of Smiles, and later on until this year, FFC, Freedom Flotilla Coalition. Yeah? I simply left the blue line, the dotted blue line, and we can chart our future together. Yeah? What the strong message that I want to convey and share with everyone here is, if we work together, yeah, in unison, yeah, and we are bold enough in our action, we can make it happen, even in our lifetime. Yeah? And one thing that I want to convey to everyone, especially Muslims, yeah? There is one thing that we must work very hard. Yeah? One thing that we must work very hard on it is this concept of ukhuwah insaniyah. We must forge a very strong brotherhood, a universal brotherhood, because this is the way forward. Yeah? We must work together with people of conscience. Yeah? And we have big personalities among us. Anne Wright is one of them. Huh? She is she is leading the way. Yeah? I think Anne Wright has charted the future for us. Yeah? Because she is such a giant personality. She was an ex-US Army colonel, isn't it, right? Yeah. I mean, an Army colonel, US Army colonel, who has been causing trouble all over the world. But now she is on our side. And also she was a former US diplomat who has been working in many US embassies all over the world. Yeah. We must bring into our fold people of such personality. Yeah. And I am very certain, after reaching this stage, we have been addressing this issue for more than 10 years in Malaysia, particularly in Malaysia. I started personally from the year 2000, which is almost 2 decades. But not until the last 3 years, yeah, the final 3 years. I have seen that this struggle has actually made a quantum leap. Yeah? It has breached it has break the barrier, yeah? Break the global barrier, and now the strongest support actually came from Europe, especially BDS, yeah? And also it has never came across our mind way back in 2014 when more than 140 countries, yeah, in the United Nations endorsed the formation of a sovereign Palestinian state. That is a very big victory. Yeah? And you may call this a setback. Yeah? What is happening in the Muslim world? It actually took a reverse course. Yeah? What is happening in Saudi? Yeah? I cannot say much because they may bar me from going to Mecca. Yeah? But we know there's no more secret what is happening, the dealing that is taking place between some Arab countries and Israel. Even one of the kingdom, you dare to mention that kingdom?
You want me to go to
yeah.
Hajj?
The smaller one.
MBS?
Huh?
No, this is not MBS.
Emirates? No.
This is the prince or?
No, he invited Bahrain, right?
Bahrain and
Bahrain.
also Qatar, which
Qatar.
support Palestine, involved in the normalization.
Yeah.
We criticize anyone have relations.
So what I'm saying is, it looks like ukhuwah insaniyah, the universal brotherhood, take precedence over the so-called Muslim brotherhood. I'm not talking about the Islamic brotherhood. There's a very big difference between Muslim and being Islamic. I hope you do not take my words out of context. I'm not saying that, I'm not belittling the Islamic solidarity, yeah? But how the Muslim behave today, yeah, is so embarrassing, yeah? That we have to rely on the brotherhood of people of conscience to end this oppression, to end this tyranny on the Palestinian people. With that, I thank you. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much for your thoughtful speech, Dr. Hafizi. May I request Dr. Heru Susanto for your presentation from University of Indonesia.
Thank you so much, Dr. Altaf, my senior colleagues in Mahidol Human Rights Program. Glad to see you again. And also fellow speakers and ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, professors, as well as participants. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin. Hamdazi alafa baina qulubina fa asbahna bi ni'mati ikhwana. Asyhadu an la ilaha illallah wa la syarika lah wa asyhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu wa la nabiyya ba'dah. First of all, I'd like to congratulate the organizer for organizing this program, this very important program and very important seminar for Southeast Asian countries as well as in the world, because I have never imagined that this Palestine Center can be held in Bangkok. Even in Jakarta, it's quite difficult. In Jakarta, Jakarta is the host of 230 million Muslim. Maybe we made like one sixth of Muslim all over the world. 1/6 of Muslim live in Jakarta alone. But even to arrange such seminar we need more struggle. Okay, my name is Heru Susetio. I represent some NGO working for Palestine and for human rights. My NGO is Indonesian Human Rights and Advocacy Center, namely PAHAM, or in this language, and I also work for campus as a professor in human rights and humanitarian law. And my presentation is, sorry. Yes. We're still waiting the presentation. Okay. Today, the topic for this panel is the future of Palestine. Maybe from my perspective, or as an Indonesian who live in the country who is the most predominantly Muslim country, actually there's a lot of things to do, a lot of things to work on in the future. As an Indonesian, as a Southeast Asian people, as a part of the Ummah, as well as a part of the
tomorrow will be free. Mother, no father to wipe away my tears. That's why I will cry. I feel scared, but I won't show my fears. I keep my head high, deep in my heart. I'll never have any doubt that Palestine tomorrow will be free. Palestine tomorrow will be free. I saw those rockets and bombs shining in the sky, like drops of rain in the sun's light, taking away everyone dear to my heart, destroying my dreams in a blink of an eye. What happened to our human rights? What happened to the sanctity of life and all those other lives? I know that I'm only a child, but is your conscience still alive? Oh, yeah. I will caress with my bare hands every precious grain of sand, every stone and every tree. 'Cause no matter what they do, they can never hurt you. 'Cause your soul will always be free.
سؤالي للعالم، لكل إنسان في العالم، لكل إنسان بينعم بحريته، ليش إحنا بنتحاصر؟ يعني شو عملنا؟ شو ذنب شعب كامل يتحاصر داخل حدود ضيقة لأسباب هو مش عارفها؟ يعني تهيألي إحنا ما عملنا إشي لنتحاصر عليه أو ننحبس عليه.
Palestine, tomorrow will be free. Palestine, tomorrow will be free.